What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Respect and Pray Show with yours truly, Miguel Mike Medina, Triple M. And on this episode, there's a woman who I had a great honor and lucky enough to have met when we both took a sports broadcasting course together last fall. It's amazing that it's almost been a year since I've known her and that we still have kept in contact. We worked together on a college football show, which is on YouTube, that you guys should check it out. But she is knowledgeable in computers, in sports, and you guys should pay attention to this interview because she is someone that is relentless, and there's never too late to reach your dreams, to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And she is that person that she will not stop until she gets what she wants. And she will get there as long as she puts in the effort, the dedication, the motivation, everything into it. But she has those tools that she's gonna be great. So stay tuned for this interview because it's definitely a good one and a must see to watch.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to present to you Miss Avery Jones. Avery, thank you for joining the show. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Miguel. Thank you for having me.
So I gotta start from the beginning. Clearly, I know you love sports, and but many people don't. So I want to know, when did you fall in love with sports?
The thing about sports is probably central to a lot of people when they come into sports. It involved a family member. When my grandmother moved to Florida from South Carolina, if you grew up in a generational household, if the older folks had control of the TV, you watched what they watched. And on this small 5-inch black and white TV, we only got a few channels, but one of those was TBS, and I watched baseball with her. That's why I'm an Atlanta Braves fan. From the beginning, Dale Murphy was their star player then, and they were terrible when I was growing up. And that is my love of baseball. Even when she started watching professional wrestling, I still watch professional wrestling because of her. My love of sports started with my grandmother, and she just sitting me down and say, "Hey, we're going to watch this." And then I just learned.
Many people don't know, or they're too young for this, but before MLB on TBS, it used to be the home of the Atlanta Braves. I know because when I started watching baseball, it was still around. But yeah, that just brings back so many memories. And speaking of Atlanta, I'm sorry they got eliminated by the Phillies, but October baseball is a whole different season. But you completed sports broadcasting course, which that's where we met. Um, and you got your certificate in December 2021, just like me. Um, how would you describe taking that sports broadcasting course and why you decided to take it during that particular time?
It was interesting because not only do I love baseball and professional wrestling, I love a lot of other sports. I love football, mostly college football, basketball, college basketball, even rugby, cricket, hockey. And one of my first dreams, getting out of high school, I wanted to work for ESPN. In the beginning of ESPN, it was this new concept. So, having a 24-hour sports channel was weird. So growing up, and I noticed I could watch, sports all the time, I loved ESPN. So when ESPN came out with ESPN2, I when we see people who encourage us, we always remember them. And for me, it's Stuart Scott. God bless Stuart Scott. I'm still sad that he's no longer with us, but Stuart Scott and also Rich Eisen, when they got into ESPN2, it was kind of, for my generation, the MTV version of sports, if you will. It was a bit more laid back. It was a bit more casual. And if you were a teenager watching ESPN2, you got it. You understood Stuart Scott. You understood Rich Eisen. You understood their dynamic, and you understood that that carried over outside of the office too. So when sports broadcasting and sports management worldwide came around, believe it or not, I was watching a YouTube video of a baseball breakdown from John Boy Media, and his sponsor was Sports Management Worldwide. So I thought, well, let me just go on the website, let me check it out, let me look at it. And going through all of it, not only did the love I have for sports magnify itself, but it also said, okay, that dream of, sports broadcasting, or maybe ESPN, or like I have a podcast, I have a YouTube channel, but it's still in its infancy to me because I'm still nervous about posting or even blogging, but the love is still there. So I just filled out the application on a whim, and someone got back to me the next day. And it was interesting because the year before, I had just finished my second bachelor's degree. So I was still trying to figure out what I wanted, and everything still comes back to sports. So I took it, and not only did I love it, met interesting people like yourself. We are still in contact nearly a year later. And also, not only that, I ended up going back to sports management. I'm taking another course as well, which is athlete management. But the love of sports never went away. It just has, like ebbs and flows, if you will. So, but yeah.
I have plans of taking more courses for sports, worldwide management. They've been phenomenal so far. And it was really much needed for people like us who love sports, we're very passionate. But yeah, I mean, and not only that, we also have college football time with Avery Miguel, which we record every Thursday mornings. We post it on Saturdays, so we have that going on. You could still do blogging and all that other stuff. It just, take your time with it, but you got this. But yeah, speaking of which, you attended Bellevue University, which you graduated in 2020, am I right?
Yes, that is
And
correct.
you majored in computer and information system security.
Yes.
So does that play a factor where you're working right now at Walmart, which you've been there for 12 years now? Explain.
Actually, and it was interesting, before I got to Walmart, I was actually working for a community bank here, and I just needed a job. I was actually, thinking about going back to school, but work was more important because bills are more important. And I was working at this bank probably about 4 years, and they were doing a lot of restructuring. So they decided to create this position called debit card fraud specialist. They knew I had a knack for it. So they said, Avery, we want you to do this. By doing that, it reminded me, as much as my mom, always said, hey, Avery, when are you going to go back to school? Avery, when are you going to get that bachelor's degree? That gave me the chance of, granted, I still love sports and sports broadcasting, but I still needed something to confirm what I'm learning in the job environment that I was doing right now. So I got into debit card fraud. I got into financial security, which reinstated my love of computers. So I went back to school in actually 2010, but our bank got bought. So it was, okay, I'll just go ahead and finish school, continue school. And if a job comes around, a job comes around. Interesting enough, when I left the bank, I got a call from Walmart at the same time. And I always like to tell the story. I was literally leaving one door and walking back into another one. So when I started at Walmart in 2010, I was starting my first bachelor's degree, which is actually in video game design, which works because I love video games as well as I love sports. And I still consider that a sport as well. And I did that and I graduated in 2014. And once I got that first bachelor's degree, I still wanted to learn what other aspects were there within Walmart. Because when I was a kid, when Walmart was coming up, you thought it was just a store. But when they built a distribution center here in 2004, and you notice there are more jobs within this huge retail business, you start to look at it. So once I got my bachelor's degree, I started looking at, other technology careers within Walmart. Most of them are in their home office in Bentonville, but as you know, recently, a lot of businesses are doing telecommuting work and remote work. So it's still there. But the thing about Walmart, especially where I work in the supply chain, is helping our stores, helping our drivers, finding those new innovative ways to still help our customers, even though you may not think they're our customers. And it may not, in sports and cybersecurity and computer information systems, you may not think they all work together, but they do in ways that you can connect with people, you can get an understanding of the business side, and it helps. It helps.
Better college football team, 2001 Miami Hurricanes or 2020 Alabama Crimson Tide?
Why do you have to put me on the spot, Miguel? If anyone's watched our show, I have a huge Crimson Tide logo when we record. It's weird because the 2020 team was coming off an interesting bit of issues, but the 2001 Hurricane, my goodness. I'm sorry, I have to go with the 2020 Crimson Tide. I can't. I will say this though, the 2001 Miami Hurricanes, I think that was like they're kind of like their last hurrah. That's what they're trying to get back to. But I'm sorry, 2020 Crimson Tide, better.
Which sport do you rather watch in the postseason, baseball or hockey?
Oh, these are so difficult. Oh my God, this is so difficult. Oh my goodness, this is. We've mentioned it before, October baseball. October baseball is special, especially now that they've changed the format for, wild card and divisional teams. And like we saw, my Braves were the number one, my Braves were a top seed and they got knocked out by the Phillies, but it's still exciting to watch. First, you got a 3-game series for the wild card. Then you got a 5-game series for divisional championship. Now we're in a 7-game series and then another 7-game series for World Series. But then you got hockey, which is so exciting. When hockey postseason starts for the past couple of years, for hockey, I'm a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, which is weird because I live closer to where the Florida Panthers play. And even seeing them, they have all 7-game series, and a game can turn around for a team, or, that one player can get hot, but, oh man, I'm gonna have to go with baseball. Baseball is my sport. Baseball is the first sport I got into, and October baseball is so exciting, but hockey's still exciting too, but I gotta go with baseball postseason.
Better Atlanta Braves franchise player at their peak, Chipper Jones or Dale Murphy?
This is it's tough, but not as tough as you think. Peak, it's Chipper Jones. I mentioned this before. Chipper Jones is from Florida. He's from DeLand. When we have athletes that come out of Florida, we follow them no matter what sports team they get to. So when Chipper Jones was at his peak, I'm MVP, clutch hitter, you couldn't touch him. You know, it's kind of weird because for when he got to Atlanta and the number of division titles and National League titles, but yet he only got the one World Series ring. But I'm happy he got that one. Dale Murphy, I'm kind of sad. He is a Hall of Famer, and he has the career numbers. He is like the quintessential Atlanta Brave, just like Derek Jeter is the quintessential New York Yankee. So peak, it's got to be Chipper Jones.
What do you think about the Alabama-Tennessee game that happened recently, which was insane? And that was a weird field goal.
It was so weird, but we've mentioned it before. Any given Saturday when college football starts, I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. You know, upsets everywhere, even if you don't think about it. So when I'm watching that game, and it's weird because we texted because a lot of other things were going on. We were watching, you know, if you were keeping up with baseball, we were checking out the baseball score. We were watching, you know, I was watching the Alabama-Tennessee game. Then I was watching the TCU Oklahoma State game. And then I was going back and forth to the Penn State Michigan game. You know, that's the thing about Saturday on college football. So watching that game, especially because it was going back and forth. And I was like, and of course, playing at Tennessee, when you play at these schools, especially if they're undefeated, especially if you have, you know, a school like Alabama coming in, you're going to do anything you can to win, and you're going to take anything you got. So not only was the punt weird, but the field goal itself. And of course, if you looked after the fact, the students made sure they took that goalpost down, you know, to make sure. I'm like, this is ours. So, I mean, it's a great game. I'm sad my team lost, but that's the love of college football. That's why I have a tendency to lead more in watching college football games than pro games. There is a passion from these student athletes that is infectious. And when it gets infectious, you can't help but want to watch.
Avery, thank you so much for being part of this interview. Keep doing what you're doing. I want to see more sports content and more stuff from you. But like I said, you got this. You know, you and I, we have our own thing going on, which is college football time with Avery and Miguel. For those of you who haven't seen it, I highly recommend you should do so. Subscribe to the MMM Journal to follow our content. But Avery, I salute you. Keep taking those sports classes and many much other things because you know so much about sports, and I like talking and being surrounded with people that are very knowledgeable about the sport.
Thank you, Miguel, for having me. Once again, I'm proud of you for what you've been doing, and thank you for letting me be with you on this journey as well.
Well, guys, that does it for this episode of the Respect and Pray Show. Stay tuned for the next episode. And my message is always simple, guys. It's always the same. Have mutual respect, mutual love, and mutual admiration. So, until next time.